So with us today, we've got Hardus Els and Banu van der Heever from Legally Armed and NatShoot, respectively. And today we're going to be talking about something that's become sort of problematic over time, where we see people have been trying to either do their competency application for themselves and doing their motivations themselves, or they're going to non-accredited people that can do it at a that cheaper rate, and then ending up having to spend more money on it, having to go through to legally armed, or end up phoning NatShoot to try and fix the problem at the time. So let's go over to Banu. Banu, in a nutshell, I'm sure a lot of our viewers know exactly what Legally Armed does. But for those that are watching for the first time, what is my step? I've now done my proficiency training with a firearms store. I've gone to the Stellenbosch Legally Armed branch and I've done my proficiency and I've achieved that. From there, what do I do now that I've purchased a firearm and I need to get motivations and stuff done? What is the steps that I take coming to you guys after that?
Yeah, well, Tom, after you've done your proficiency or training, you get certificates issued by the trainer. And with that certificates, you need to apply for competency with subs. It's not a very big application really, but we assist our clients with that to make sure that application is correct and that everything is there. I've just seen this morning that they refused a competency application reason. You need to have three references, and the hardest is quite interesting. The refusal was not enough references, and but as far as my knowledge is, it's the police work to call the references. It's not your work to bring the references to them. They need to visit or call the references. But we help with, we've got a standard form that that subs gave us with questions for the reference guys that you use as references that can fill in, and so if the application go in, you know everything is right. After that, you'll have to wait. It can be anything from 3 months to 8 months for your SAP is competency to be approved. As soon as your competency is approved, then you can buy a firearm. Ek gaan 'n bietjie oorslaat Afrikaans toe vir die Afrikaanse ouens daar. So dan as jy jou bevoegdheid uitgereik is, kan jy dadelik vir jou vuurwapen aankoop en ons kan dadelik met die aansoekproses begin. Dis baie ouens koop die vuurwapen en dan doen hulle eers die training en goed. Van die handelaars raak deesdae 'n bietjie moeilik daaroor want die wapen lê op sy handelaar voorraad vir maande voordat dit van die rak af gaan. So ek stel voor as jy dink om 'n vuurwapen te koop, begin dadelik met jou training, kry jou goed in. Jy kan solank na wapens gaan kyk as jou bevoegdheid aansoek in is. En as jy dan een koop, dan is jy al in die proses dat jy gaan, en dit gaan jou nie so lank vat om jou vuurwapen te kry nie. Ehm jy is 'n eerste aansoeker, kan aansoek doen vir enigiets van 'n handwapen tot 'n halgeweer of geweer, en jy mag 4 lisensies op jou naam hê voordat jy moet toegewyde status kry, en dan moet jy obviously aan 'n vereniging soos NatShoot behoort, want hulle is die vereniging se ryk vir jou sportskiet status of sports dedicated hunter status uit. Yeah, that's about the whole process in short.
Yeah, and it seems to me like SAPS likes to do their own things, and having a company like Legally Armed doing your applications for you helps with those hiccups, because you guys know what the general rules are, and Legally Armed is nationwide. There's branches all over South Africa, so each branch knows how to deal with each specific police station. Like for example, here in Stellenbosch, for a little while, the DFO required a medical certificate from the doctor. It's unlawful to ask that sort of stuff, but there was a case there where there was someone who was mentally not well, and they murdered someone with a firearm that they got a license for, and then the DFO decided that she wanted to have a medical certificate from a doctor declaring that you weren't a medical risk to murdering
The,
anyone or anything like that.
Tim, if I can just come in there, when you do your competency application, they ask you, are you on depression medication? All that stuff that there's certain questions and answers that covers that. And if you are, then you need a medical certificate from your shrink and the psychiatrist to say that your medication is working and you are you you are competent to possess a firearm. That's where you will need a medical certificate.
Mm.
Never after that, a
Yeah.
GP cannot pronounce me fit to possess a firearm. Only psychiatrists that can do that. So yeah, just to make it clear to the viewers, that is definitely not something you need when you apply for a firearm.
No, it's not standard. And in the applications process, when the questions that they do ask you, they ask you things that make sense. Have you just been fired from your job? That sort of stuff. They'll ask those questions. Are you recently divorced? I think is another one. So they check all of these things. Um, I'm what some would call in South Africa, the South African version of the American 2A absolutist. Um, but we've got the Firearms Control Act, and I think we can all agree that it's a relatively good firearms law that we've got that's just not being implemented correctly. And if it was implemented correctly, we wouldn't have too many problems. So from there, I've gone to Legally Armed, and I've done my application and everything sorted out. In terms of clients that you get in at Legally Armed, how many of them have come to you recently or over the years that have gone to someone that's a bit of a fly by night, that have totally messed up the application totally, and they've been declined, or they've just made a balls up and written an A4 page worth for a Section 13. Is this something that's occurring more often, or is it something that's been happening for a long time, Barry?
Tim, yeah, I think artists can also come in there. Um, yeah, just for the viewers' sake, Legally has been a company established in 2004 when the new act was promulgated. So we we've been here since the start of the new act. There's a lot of guys. There's other good guys. Rian Kinneke, he's my opposition, but I don't have a problem with Rian. Is a good guy and he does great work. And me and him talk. So there's a place for everybody. There's enough work also. I mean, even though Legally Arms got 26 offices in South Africa, we probably don't even do 5% of the country's applications. Um, to, so there's a lot of work out there for everybody. All I'm saying, and it happened about 2 3 months ago. Somebody called me. He said he got a guy on the internet. He told him he'll help him. He paid a guy 3,500 rand to sort him out. And after the guy received his money, he he just disappeared. So that happens. I'm not saying everybody that's doing motivations is not good. All I'm saying is there's guys that's doing motivations for 300 rand and 400 rand. Well, it's like an example. If you want to drive a Mercedes or you want to drive a Volkswagen Beetle, you must compare what you get. Myself, I cannot do an application for 3 or 400 rand. I'm not doing the motivation. I'm doing the full application. My client is just signing on the dotted line and handing in the application. Um, when we it's quite a it's, I'm not putting in 1 hour's work. If it's 1 hour's work, I'll do it for 400 rand, no problem. But I'm putting when you start the application process and you write a motivation and to compile the whole document, it takes time. It takes you anything from 4 to 6 hours. It just depends on how many applications you do for the client. I mean, Ardes was sitting there. I just completed 4 applications for him, and that probably took me about, yeah, it was about a 1 full day that I worked on his applications. But he's a customer that I had most of his stuff with me, so it is easier when you come for your second or your third application. But yeah, I'm I'm always just saying, everybody can write a motivation, but just remember, if your application is declined, you must be able to do the appeal. And not a lot of guys out there can do appeals. We do appeals. I mean, in there were about the hardest help me right when Papi just cancelled all the semi-auto applications. It's about 5 years ago, 4 5 years ago.
Mm.
I
Yeah, it was.
mean, he just it was a new head of CFR. He came in and he just said decline all the semi-auto applications that was on his table. So they declined it with reasons, and then you need to do an appeal. The, my question to the guys that's using 300 and 400 rand application, guys, can you appeal that application? That's the bottom line. And can the guy assist you with the appeal when your application is declined? Because that's a big thing. I know the subsidies. If your application is declined, most of subs do give you permission to just reapply. But the Act is actually clear about that also. That is also wrong from subs. Is if
Yep.
your application is refused or declined, you need to do an appeal. That is what the Act states. And currently subs is allowing people to reapply for the same firearm, new application. Well, that's good. I will also help if Hardes's application is refused. I'll just do a reprint for him and send it up and say hand it in again. Except if they say he must do appeal, and that's the big thing. Whenever you renew your license, make sure you do it so that you can do the appeal. If something goes wrong, just remember something can go wrong, and things do go wrong.
There's a lot of attention to detail that's great that legally armed provides, which is good.
The big thing is, Tim, legally aren't always guaranteed out applications. And I still guarantee my application because in 99% of the cases where application is refused, it's either a police fault or they took out the documents out of the client's bundle. I mean, I don't know. We busy with a client. He applied. We his dedicated sports shooting certificate were in the application. And the reason why they declined the application was no dedicated status. Uh, uh, so somewhere along the line, that document was not was taken out of his parcel that we gave him. We bind it in a booklet so that somebody had to
Mm.
tore it out or whatever way. Even if they made a some of the police stations are still doing copies of your application, and maybe they did a copy and they never put it back. So, but we've got an index on our applications that shows which documents is in there, so we can do the appeal and we'll be able to sort him out. Um, but it is crucial. People must just remember, legally armed Riankaneke, this is our job. This is not, this is our job. This is not just, okay, I'm coming home tonight for extra money, I'm going to do some applications for people. This is our full-time job. This is my full-time job. I'm only doing firearm applications, anything regarding the Firearm Administration Act, administration of the Firearm Controls Act. I can help you. Import, exports, accreditations, business firearms. We do the whole spectrum. This is our job. So you must just decide whenever you go and you ask somebody to help you. In Afrikaans is daar goedkoop koop is duur koop.
Ek wou net gesê
You
het
can decide. I'm not saying we're expensive. I don't think we are expensive for what we do and what we give. There, others can maybe come in because he knows what we're doing. But I mean, also from associations point, I think others, you guys do the endorsements, and you one of the associations that want to see the motivation done. So
Absolutely.
julle kan appels met appels vergelyk en julle kan sê ja,
Mm.
hierdie ou se goed is reg, hierdie ou se goed is nie reg nie. Ek weet nie presies hoe dit werk nie. Ons het dan redelik suksesvol by julle met ons aansoeke met endorsemente. Wat ek dink 'n great ding is, dat die as die polisie na julle toe kom dat julle stelsel reg is. Maar ek dink dit kan probleme vir julle ook veroorsaak.
Yeah, first off, before I get to the endorsements, I want to reiterate in terms of what Bernu has mentioned in regarding with what they do professionally is the motivations. There's two things within what they do and what they offer as services. The one is just writing a motivation specifically for the application. So then obviously you still need to go and do all the other paperwork in terms of filling in the application of the SAPS. And then the other part is that they do the whole application for you. They physically fill in the whole SAPS application form for you. They do the motivation for you, and they do it very meticulously in regards with that they refer within the motivation to the annexures, and it makes a great deal of a difference within application processes. As Berno has mentioned, it takes a lot of time to write up a motivation and do a full application. I've done my fair share of applications myself in the past years. I physically don't have, well, I can't say physically, but I specifically don't have the time per se um, nowadays to do that for myself anymore, because as Bernu has mentioned, it takes you up to 6 hours, and it really does. If you want to have a very successful application process, my father always has the question, regardless in terms of price, regardless in terms of uh, money, and so forth, is the question is, do you want the firearm? Wil jy die kar hê? Wil jy hierdie spesifieke ding hê? En as die antwoord ja is, then you need to pay. So, regardless of what the other person is asking you, regardless of, because the fact is, if you want it, then that's the price. And it's not for argument's sake in terms of what Barry is asking for these services. The fact is, do you want a successful application? Given into consideration, how much time and money are you willing to spend so that you can get a license, so that you can go and enjoy what you want, what you really like to do? So I started sending in my information to Bernu, and they did very well in terms of the applications that they have done already for me. They've done 4 more applications for myself now that I'm going to hand in, and I'm very happy with it. Um, Going on to the endorsement side of what we do with NatShoot, and evaluating motivations, we specifically ask for the motivations, because the endorsement that we give out is states that within this motivation that has been written, the where the firearm, for what the firearm is going to be used for, is suitable for those purposes. We also need to make sure, as an accredited association, with our responsibilities towards the Firearms Control Act, that specifics like applications or motivations referring to hunting and more towards business, professional hunting, or even if you want to do training with rifles or handguns as a instructor at the range, that we cannot give an endorsement on that, and stand by that endorsement, because we are not accredited for professional hunting, or that we are the, what's the name, what I'm looking for? moderators, such as SAP FTC. So if it's for business purposes, we cannot give an endorsement in terms of that. We can, however, give endorsements out on self-protection, on dedicated sport shooting, occasional sport shooting, dedicated hunting, occasional hunting. I've personally done the 1 year, I've done 12,000 endorsement applications throughout the year. 3 years later, when we were recurring as staff around the table, when I went back to endorsements again, I did that specific year, I did 23,000 endorsement applications. So I read my fair share of applications, and if you take this into consideration as well as in perspective, with the SAPS, dealing with this applications on a daily basis, one can surely understand what they are going through. I mean, you basically an individual sitting at the table day after day and looking at least 180 to 200 motivations a day. So it takes those people at least 2 minutes, then they finished with that application, and they can tell you within that application, this person has done um, a good job in terms of explaining the purposes why he wants that firearm or not. Um, and upon that the evaluator has seen, they then make their decision. Um, yes, there is instances where they do refuse applications sometimes on nonsense reasons, if I can put it that bluntly. Uh, but it's also in terms of ill-written motivations or stuff that Barney has mentioned now with documents that's getting lost. It is part in terms of those processes, but most of the applications, if you have written the motivation correctly and all of your documents is there, there's no reason for them to decline it. I've only personally, and it wasn't on my person self, it was for my wife that I've done a self-protection motivation. Out of 15 motivations that and applications that I have personally done for myself or my wife, has never been refused. So, because of what I know, what to put in the motivation, such as Barnu knows what to put in the motivations, um, the one motivation or the one application that has been refused where I did it was my wife's application because of self-protection purposes. But I know exactly what I did wrong there. And that was one of the things that we didn't do, regardless if it was right or wrong. It's one of the things that the police wants to look at on the end of the day. And if you don't have it in there, if it's part of the act or not. Um, so yeah.
No, no, it's important.
If I may
All of
come in
these things.
there, Tim, I
Yes, yeah.
just wanna, I just wanna say, and add on to others. We must remember that the staff turnaround of CFR is high. Every second or third year, there's a new commander. What's it? Commander in chief, can we call that? With new rules and everything. And we as legally armed, because we're a company that's what 19 years old, will be 20 years to next year. We have adapted with subs. I mean, we're probably going to discuss a bit about the competency situation in South Africa now. That's a big thing now. How do you? When does your competency certificate expires? So that's the new thing, and we had I saw a written letter from subs in the Free State, of which I totally disagree with how they see it. But yes, that's a big thing. But we've just adapted, and I'm not gonna fight the police. I just adapt and I advise my client re- um, uh, in the right way, that I think you will have the less trouble with police.
So in terms of these motivations that we're seeing, how does when you get these stuff to do endorsements for it, you can obviously tell you've been through enough of these motivations to see the difference between a legally armed motivation, a motivation that the guy has written himself, or a sort of fly quick job that someone has charged a quick buck for to just get it off their desk so they can do as many as possible and try and make as much money as possible out of it. You can obviously tell the difference. And also, it's probably important to say that the CFR and the people sitting behind those desks, when they receive those things, they can also tell the difference too.
Absolutely. Yeah, not to badmouth anyone or the name calling, because that's not what we are doing here today. We are simply giving perspective to the viewers, in the sense that I've seen good motivations written by private individuals like ourselves doing our own motivations. And then I've seen real bad ones in that regard. Um, and then I've also seen the same in the latter, in terms of bad, ill-written motivations that people has paid for, and that, yeah, that you pay for such motivations is astounding. So, and then looking on the other side in terms of the due diligence and the way the motivation packages are compiled by Legally Armed, and the work that has been done by Barnu and his team, is set on another level. It's clear, it's professional, it's tedious, and you can you can work with it, and it does bring up results. I think I'm going to do four applications now. I've already done 5 applications in the past, and not one of them has been refused. I yet to find an application, but I think I can start a bet with Bernu, and if he says we'll do it like certain insurance companies. If your application is being refused, we will pay back 1,000 rand or something like that. So, but yeah, no, but yeah, it's their service is good. They are on the ball. So I can't complain. Irrespective if we are working very close to Legally Armed, that's why we are working close to them, because they give results. Um, we as NatShoot work with like-minded people. We work with the industry because we want to grow the industry. We are there for our members. That's why I also mentioned that such things as firearm safes, I look for value for my members that can give them the advantage to be better, and better legal and responsible firearm owners. I want the best for my members, and I say specifically my members because it feels like they are my people, my members. It's everyone else as a collective within NatShoot, the staff, everyone as NatShoot looking after the members of NatShoot, but they are valued to us as a passion. We drive the same vision, and that's that. We want to do better, and that's why we work with people like Legally Armed Barnu and his team as well. We want to grow the industry. We want the best for people. That's why we're sitting here.
and now we've built up a lacquer collection over the years, and we've got a good amount of rifles in our safe. We're thinking about building a safe room in the house as well. And people don't realize that accidents happen. You just spent a lot of money on a nice H&H hunting rifle with a Swarovski scope on it, and it's been engraved. It's got inlay in it. It's beautiful. You go out on your first hunt with it, and you trip as you're getting out of the bucky, or and you fall, and your Swarovski scope breaks. And the stock of your or the stock of your rifle breaks, or the barrel bends, or something like that. People often don't think about something that's important as insurance. And at legally armed offers legally armed insured insure the and that is a specific product there to insure your firearms should the unexpected happen, as well as bows and also your fishing equipment. So um, if you guys are interested in looking at getting insurance for your firearms, I would even get it for your own personal firearm too, because you never know when when a firing pin breaks, or something goes wrong. It's always better to have an affordable option to protect yourself and ensure that these things you can recover from them should it happen. So head over to Legally Arms website and take a look at the legally armed insurer for your firearms. It's very, very important, and I encourage everyone to do it. And as always, it's been great to sit and discuss these things. I don't see it being done anywhere else in South Africa. No one really talks about these things, so it's good to have this information available and to go back on. So um, thanks so much for coming on the show and talking about these things. And we'll be bringing you more information and more topics that are important to life as a firearms owner in South Africa. So thanks for watching this episode, and we will be bringing you. We'll come back to you in the next week or two with something new and something more informative as well.